Welcome back to the Amazing Education Station, the Amazing Education Channel. The information you need to know. It's not about the video. It's more for listening to, so don't expect amazing video, I always say. Yeah, so folks, some great news. Taiwan has decided by 2040 that all vehicles sold will be electric only or renewable energy only. Could be hydrogen or electric or any other renewable source, possibly, but no gasoline, no diesel, no fossil fuels by 2040. So it's just going to be wonderful. It's going to help the environment. Now, I know Taiwan has terrible pollution. It's an interesting place. It's considered one of the tigers of Asia Pacific, along with Singapore, Japan, Korea, South Korea, not North Korea. And calling it a tiger is sort of just saying, you know, they're pretty strong and sort of unexpectedly strong, being such a small place. But it shows that when you have a global perspective, because of easy shipping and, you know, being an island, or like South Korea, a peninsula, you have people that are very much exposed to the rest of the world, not just exposed to their own culture. And so it gives people a wider view of what is possible, and maybe even includes sort of better economics along with that. When everyone involved is friendly, they're, well, sort of used to doing international shipping, and then therefore would meet the nice people of other countries, and you see, well, you know, they're not exactly like us, but there's so much more similarity between families and people all around the world than there are differences. Of course, language and culture are huge barriers, which is why we still have a wide variety of cultures in the world, but that's also a good thing. We need variety. We should never monopolize under a one world system. The United Nations system, first of all, hasn't stopped wars, as we can see. This is 2022 and it's April, and gosh, governments are killing innocent people as we speak. The United Nations hasn't stopped that. Now, we haven't had a massive world war with hundreds of millions of people dying. So you could argue, well, it's achieved that. And so I'm not saying the United Nations is bad, but it's dangerous, just like any caged tiger. It has to be limited, controlled, and definitely not worshipped. So now let's get back to Taiwan. As I said, it's a very successful economy, but it's also very polluted. So they have scooters. People, even families, entire families will ride one scooter. That's right, you heard me. Husband, wife, children, dog in the front basket, groceries hanging from the back. And they do have a little bit of air quality control in terms of an annual inspection, but that means some scooter could be polluting for 12 months at the end of its life, polluting terribly, and maybe somebody sneaks around. You know, people can ignore the law, and if they're not caught, well, you've got a lot of air pollution. But even if they are meeting the tailpipe emissions quality, they're still adding to the density of the atmosphere. Listen, folks, carbon is in gasoline. It's a hydrocarbon. It's a chemical with long chains of carbon and the hydro's in there, yeah, the hydrogen. And you might notice that exhaust has the condensation. So anyway, my point is, carbon is a heavy element that gets combined with oxygen when it's burned, and there you go, you have a heavy element creating greater density in the environment, in the atmosphere. And so what do you expect when you put on a thicker blanket onto the planet? Do you think you're going to be colder or warmer? If you strip away the atmosphere, of course, the Earth would be the same freezing chill, well below zero, same as outer space, except for when the sun hits the rocks or whatever would be left of the planet if we didn't have an atmosphere. Of course, the sun would heat things up, but on the dark side, away from the sun, you know, the side that's not being heated by the sun is the deadly chill of space, and it's the atmosphere at night that keeps us warm until the sun rises again. And of course, everyone knows it gets cooler at night, right? So, but you put on a denser blanket and you retain more heat, which is going to cause basically eventually the polar ice caps will not be there and sea level is going to rise. Florida and our beloved Star Wars village in the Disney World over there, gosh, that's probably going to be underwater unless massive construction projects build the proper walls, which basically you could say Florida is going to be part Venice, with the roadways being turned into waterways instead of roadways. You would have more canals than Florida already has, because it's pretty much at sea level already, very close. And but some areas will need to be built up and protected from the rising seawater. Now, don't be shocked. So I don't know if you're just kidding out there, you know, the people that say the sea level will not rise or the polar ice caps won't melt. So when you go through, as far as geologists and archaeologists can discover, the majority of the history of the planet, there are no ice caps. When the dinosaurs were wandering around, there was an inland sea. So I'm from the United States, and the middle of the United States, like the Mississippi River area all the way to probably the Rocky Mountains, you know, over in that direction, that was a sea. And they have found like swimming, maybe plesiosaur skeletons or whatever, you know, so like giant, large sea creature skeletons in the middle of the United States. They were ocean creatures, saltwater creatures, and so their skeletons are there. And that's not the only evidence, but also the frozen, fossilized remains in the Antarctic, so South Pole. That's other evidence that tells us the South Pole was maybe almost at a tropical level. And of course, it has moved around. The poles and all the other areas of the Earth do change gradually over time. And so, yes, Antarctica did move over time, so it wasn't exactly where it is right now. Maybe a little bit more north. And however, still it was tropical, and the evidence suggests that there are just cycles, times when the entire Earth may be covered with ice ball planet, times when the Earth has virtually no ice and no polar ice. So no North Pole, it's just an ocean up there, if you didn't know. There's no land at the North Pole. So that's why reindeer need to fly. So anyway, so it's going to be a good thing with Taiwan to stop polluting, stop using the fossil fuels, stop causing the atmosphere to become denser and even higher up, you know, as you add gases to the atmosphere. Where do the gases go? Do they just disappear? No, they add to the atmosphere, and the atmosphere goes higher up into what we consider space. And so therefore it's like a thicker blanket, and only vastly reducing our population is going to help. Just switching to renewable resources is not enough, because humans create so much heat with technology, heating their homes and vehicles, that we're constantly heating. And so vast reduction of the population is needed, so that when our land area is less available, we have a place to live. So consider that, folks. Have a wonderful day.